Hey, what's up, guys? It's been 8 months without nicotine. Yes, that's right. Can't believe it. It has been 8 months. Can you guys believe that I've gone 8 months without nicotine? Well, I have, and I'm going to get into mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally what I've noticed now that I've quit nicotine for 8 months so that you guys can know for yourself. This is an informational video. I'm going to be talking about that, and then as well at the end, I'll have some points that I want to point out that are kind of misconceptions that people don't understand prior to quitting nicotine. And so let's just get into it. Mentally, after 8 months without nicotine, mentally I feel alive, energized, and well prepared to use my mind for whatever I have to do. No more thoughts about nicotine, no thoughts about relapse, just a strong urge to want to apply myself mentally. And this is different for when I was addicted to nicotine, because when I was addicted to nicotine, mentally I would struggle to apply myself. I would get mentally stressed, and then I'd have to go and reach for my device or go hit my vape. But as of now, I just find joy in mentally applying myself into things that are kind of keeping me mentally stimulated. So that's why I've noticed mentally, and then physically, it feels good to be existing in a body that's not physically codependent on nicotine specifically, but for any other highly addictive substance as well, not to be dependent on something like that. Also, I feel an excess of energy and strength to physically exist and have, strong resistance to my environment physically, whereas I kind of felt physically dependent when I was addicted to nicotine, whereas I would need it to get me through the day. I almost thought that I needed it to get me through the day because I thought, dang, I'm so used to just giving myself a hit of nicotine just to feel good, right? Just to make my body feel good, that how am I ever gonna get through something without it, like get through this, say, activity that I have to do. Whereas now, physically, I just, feel even more resistant to my environment, meaning physically being able to push the body more than I was previously, as well as been taking long bike rides. And I know that physically, had I still been using nicotine, I did it for like 5.5 to 6 years vaping. So I'd say that definitely my lung health has definitely improved. So that's physically. Spiritually, I recognize my spiritual strength and power, especially, today through my experiences, but also last night when I had a dream where I was in an environment where I was surrounded by people that I didn't want to be surrounded by. And they were participating in activities that I didn't want to participate in. And so what spiritual ability I used was to intend not to participate in any of the actions of the environment or the crowd, and then intend to leave. Therefore, I was able to wake myself up from this dream and to not experience that. So it was using that ability to kind of spiritually take myself out of that astral travel, because I did not want to experience that. And we kind of knew we already had that power to be able to take ourselves out of that dream, but it's about recognizing that strength and recognizing that power that I'm pointing out. Spiritually, as well as resonating with an inner knowing of self more clearly through intuition, that has begun to, ever since I quit, really just increase. And I think that's because no longer is it being dulled, my spiritual senses or power is it being dulled anymore, so that it's allowing it to fully be spiritually aware. emotionally, after 8 months without nicotine, my emotional state, it feels like a place where I can be at peace, as well as enjoy myself rather than dealing with, you know, guilt feelings, guilt-ridden feelings of drug abuse or drug addiction, as well as, any shame associated with drug abuse, because I am truly, proud of myself for my decisions now, so I don't have that shame for using anymore, as well as, any guilt after you, use that abuse. So with that being said, I'm able to be in a more emotionally stable state, and so it just makes it easier to not want to go back to a previous behavior that, when I look back, I was on a bike ride last night going with my partner to the gym. We were going to do a core, and I told her, I said, you remember when we were driving around Scottsdale Quarter, biking to that, that ice cream place, and then after that, biking to that bar, that sports bar, and eating a lot of food. We had a vape with us still. This was back, prior to the 8 months with quitting nicotine, prior to this journey. And I just recalled, how miserable I was. And, my partner confirmed that she remembered that specifically as well. And it just goes to show that emotionally, now that you're in a stable emotional state, you can look at it at a bigger perspective and see, and kind of guide yourself along into a better existence, right? So I wanted to talk about, for some of you people that are having difficulty quitting nicotine, or that are struggling with quitting nicotine, just like I did, right? I smoked nicotine, I vaped for about 5.5 to 6 years, from the age of about, I'd say, 15 to 21, 20 and a half, almost 21, but not quite. And coming from me, I never thought that I could imagine myself going without it. But the thing is that's the hard part, is that you're juggling that, The hard part is being addicted. Addiction is the hard part. The easy part is quitting. That's a common misconception, right? Once you've quit once, you know what it's all about, right? So it's about going for it and knowing that you're already experiencing the hard part, which is the addiction, right? Because you did experience a time when you didn't have that addiction, and you didn't need it back then, so you say you need it now. So look at it in that way. As well as keep this in mind, don't choose feeling good over more life, right? Over more life experience. Don't just choose feeling good knowing that it can destroy you over experiencing more life, because in that time you're going to be able to experience just a more prosperous time without being in relation with a highly addictive drug that can possibly damage you on the physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental levels, right? So ask yourself if it's worth it or not. And one thing that you will notice as well when you quit is that the moment that you quit, you start to reverse the cycle of addiction. You start to reverse whatever had been done from the time that you started your addiction. Any of that physical damage you caused, it just starts to reverse, right? And you feel it, and it takes time, so it's up to you to guide yourself along through this process of quitting nicotine. And that's going to be it for the 8-month check-in with No Nicotine. Peace.